What's harder and what's been tougher, getting hit in the ring or growing a business?
Personally saying, I think it needed both to get where I am today, because like in kickboxing you learn the discipline. I would say without the part of kickboxing in me, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Get momentum, you need confidence. To get confidence, you need momentum. So as soon as you start to see a bit of progress, like your brain clocks on, it clicks, that you realise, okay, I can do this thing. If you look back even 12 months ago, do you think you'd be in the position you're in now?
Oh no, if even I would go back to like the start of this year saying that I would be here in Dubai and actually opening up my business now here, I don't know. It came faster than I expected for sure.
And what do you think was the reason that result came faster than you expected? Welcome to another episode of the Charlie Johnson Show. Today we are joined by Veronica Kreidl from Austria. She is a former pro kickboxer. She has now scaled her online coaching business very quickly to doing $15K a month. And today we're going to go through your backstory, the very unique abilities you have in terms of the way you create content, the way you think, even the way you prepared for this podcast. You have the laptop with questions for me. The first question I want to ask you is, what's harder and what's been tougher, getting hit in the ring or growing a business?
Personally saying, I think it needed both to get where I am today, because like in kickboxing you learn the discipline, you learn to actually evolve, and I would say without the part of kickboxing in me, I wouldn't be where I am today. So saying something is hard, like I think kickboxing was easier, but I needed to evolve through it to now be setting up my own business.
Would you say it's fair that it's very similar character traits for you being, you mentioned you were world number one for 5 years in a row, to be very dominant and very good in the best in the world in that sport, to then being successful with your business?
The discipline is the same for sure, but with kickboxing, you fight for yourself. You have like a one-man show. You're running yourself. You have to evolve yourself. And with like setting up a business, you're now not just like fighting for yourself, training for yourself, but you're also like training other people. And at the same time, you're evolving people to be your employees. You're working with people. You want to evolve a team. So it's not directly the same, but the discipline, the mindset is definitely the same.
And what first brought you from the fighting to starting the coaching business?
Well, I did start coaching back when I was 8. I did not have the best trainer back then. He kind of just like been not really reliable. He pushed me in 5 minutes before the coaching started. He was like, "Oh, can you actually do it?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm going to do it." So I always kind of been into coaching people. I really love to motivate people. So it was always the plan to get into coaching, but it was never really the plan to take it online. So that's kind of new for me. But I think it's really special because you can also see people evolve, not just in the gym, but like mindset-wise, nutrition-wise, like completely.
What would be a good example of that specifically?
I would say people like getting confident, people like having that sparkle again, and not just like being there, showing up for the workout, but actually you see them believe in themselves again, go out there and just like coming back like, this actually changed my life.
And if you look back even 12 months ago, do you think you'd be in the position you're in now?
Oh no, if even I would go back to like the start of this year saying that I would be here in Dubai and actually opening up my business now here, like I was planning to do it like at the end of the year, and I don't know, it came faster than I expected for sure.
And what do you think was the reason that result came faster than you expected?
I think when you set the right intentions and suddenly start believing in yourself, that makes a huge difference. And I think for so long, like I had a few other coaches that tried to help me before, but they never really helped me, and it kind of devastated me. It kind of put me down where I didn't really feel confident anymore that I'm actually good enough to evolve my business. Like I was even overthinking if I'm meant to be doing this. So I think the mindset changed and I now believe more in myself again.
And that's one of my favorite things to think about is like, it's a momentum confidence loop. Like to get momentum, you need confidence. To get confidence, you need momentum. So as soon as you start to see a bit of progress, like your brain clocks on, it clicks that you realize, okay, I can do this thing. And the self-doubt starts to go. And I think for anyone listening to this, it's normal to have self-doubt. Like every single person in this world will have self-doubt at some point. It's also your decision how you decide to handle that. So from my point of view, when I have self-doubt, I do one of two things. I firstly look at like things I've achieved and be like, okay, cool, well, I've done X, Y, Z, so therefore I can do this thing. And secondly, I just try and think about action over anxiety. So if I feel anxious and like this isn't working, I'm like, well, I'll just like bulldoze into the problem and try and like deal with it head on. Would you say that's something that maybe has been part of your approach, or how have you dealt with maybe some of the, I'd even say like mental challenges of growing a business? Because one thing I say to everyone is like, in my opinion, growing a fitness business isn't complicated. Like it's very simple. Like you're probably seeing that more now, like the success you get, but it's still hard work.
Yeah, so I think the hardest part is even the mindset part of growing a business. To be honest, I think at some point you realize that the only person holding you back is yourself. And like, there's this saying in Austria, and we say like, if you really believe in it, you can move mountains. Now, nobody really believes in moving mountains.
What is it in Austrian?
Do you want to hear
Yeah, it's in Austrian.
Wenn du wirklich dran glaubst, dann kannst du Berge versetzen.
Yeah, I would have no idea what that means.
Literally the same. And like growing up, it was more like a joke of your parents, and they try to actually put you confidence down and make you believe in yourself. And then life happens and you stop believing in yourself. And then you start questioning if you're made for this world. And I think the biggest thing for me was to realize that really like taking a step back and then saying, wait, why am I questioning this? Like, I really know I want to be doing that. Why am I questioning it?
You clearly have a very strong mindset. And I know one of the things you mentioned earlier on is that you had quite a bad injury that stopped your pro career. How did you manage that at the time? And was that a challenging thing to overcome?
Well, it was kind of like, it was like setting up. And I really did see that at some point, I was so devastated that like, I always thought kickboxing was my thing. I'm going to show people, because you can't make money in Austria doing kickboxing. And I literally wanted to show people, hey, there's actually a way. I always thought this would be my thing. Then I started with social media, and then suddenly 1 week before the European Championship, last fight, literally the last training, and then I tore it, like my knee snapped completely. I was sitting on the floor and I was like, no, I'm going to fight. It's going to be okay in a week. I went back home, like literally my dad got me. He had to drag me down the stairs. He had to drag me up at home again. Like I was hurting so bad. And like until one day after, I was still like, no, this is going to work out. I'm 1000% sure. And then the next day rolls around, my knee was blue. It was like swollen. And I was like, maybe we should actually go to the doctor. We go to the doctor. She tells me like, you can fight, but afterwards, you're not just going to have your ACL ripped. Your meniscus is also going to be ripped, and it's going to take you way longer. And I'm sure one fight, one kick, you're going to be out. So do you really want to risk it? I didn't just see like my kickboxing career going down because I was the first place in the world ranking for over 5 years. I also saw like my social media going down, and I felt like this was it. Now I have to do something completely different. So I guess it took me a week or two, especially when the European Championship rolled around. It was like all those people fighting there now. The other girl who is worse than I am is fighting. She's losing that fight. Like I could have done that better. I could have been European champion. It was devastating, but at some point I realized that this was my biggest start off.
Yeah. And I think difficult and challenging things happen to you to try and give you a different path. So one thing I think about is like one door closes, another one opens, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I think you had that too in your life.
Yeah.
Where you hit like rock bottom and you feel like, shit, what am I going to do now? And then like literally out of nowhere, a new door opens, and those are pretty much the better doors.
Quick interjection into the podcast. If you're an online coach who's looking to scale the business, get their first 5K month, 10K month, or even get to 50 to 100K a month, we have helped hundreds of trainers do this at this point, and I've personally generated over $14 million online in the fitness industry. We have a proven methodology that works, provided you're willing to do the work. Now, if you want to book in a free business audit, we'll break down exactly where you are now, where you want to go, and what's currently holding you back. Hit the link below this video and below the podcast to find out exactly how we can help you. Pick a time and we will walk you through the process of where your business is at and what exponential growth looks like. Now, back to the podcast. Yeah, and one thing I'd actually say for everyone listening to this, like if anyone's going through a difficult time, I've actually spoken with a couple of clients recently who've got like family members going through like severe cancer and things like that. Is like, it's just your ability to endure and keep going is the most important thing outside of the cancer story aside. But like with other things in life, like it becomes a cool story to talk about. So like you can talk about that story there. That's something that's a strong story you can talk about. Obviously, it was difficult and painful at the time, like metaphorically and actually literally. But like in reality, from where you are right now, probably actually for advancing your career and your life, it actually helped you, but you don't see it at the time, which I think is why one of the most powerful things people need to think about is how they frame situations, if that makes sense.
Yes. I have a few clients now with the same problem, tearing their ACL, being like in martial arts. And I literally tell it over and over again, like, and even if it sounds so shit coming from somebody that is like already through it, and people like to encourage you, tell you it's going to be okay, and it really sounds bad, but this is literally your glow up. Even if it doesn't seem like that, that's going to be your start off. It's going to raccoon to the moon, whatever. But like your down phase, the phase where you hit rock bottom, is your biggest start ever.
That's why I think like if something really fucked up happens, I'm like, well, this is going to be a cool story to talk about. Like, and it's fuel to the fire to almost prove a point and try and figure a way out. I think also a lot of people who are entrepreneurial, and you clearly are, we tend to like to solve problems. So you're suddenly given like I have this really big problem or challenge to solve. How do I fix this thing? And that for me is like a big puzzle you get to try and put together, which basically becomes your life.
It kind of starts like being a game.
Yeah.
You start to realize that life is not life, but you feel like you're playing the Matrix game and just like putting puzzles together and solve your life.
100%. Now, with your coaching business, you've grown very quickly from making a couple of €1,000 a month to over €15,000 a month. What would you say has been like the 1 to 2 biggest things that's changed that for you that might help someone listening to this?
I love that question. So basically, my whole approach changed from not just selling people, but actually trying to find out how I can help people the best. Trying to understand what their issue is, and not just like they want to lose 15 kilograms, they want to gain 50 grams of muscle mass, but actually understanding why and trying to help them grow through it. That is one huge thing. And then also not just like doing that on sales calls, but also like on your whole like content you put out. Not just posting content because you want to be an influencer, but actually posting content because you want to help people. So
with that being said, how has your content specifically changed?
I was doing a whole lot just like trends, trying to find my way to put the trend out. And now I might still be using viral music or like good hooks and stuff like that. But I'm trying to actually help people to, for example, stretching is a big thing in my field. So I'm trying to show them techniques, exercises to actually stretch and not just like you're doing that all wrong.
Yeah.
So really giving them tips, trying to understand, for example, their hamstrings are tight. This is what you have to do to get the hammies released again.
What would you say is the biggest thing we've helped you with from the content marketing side of things?
Pretty much just like actually understanding how to cut better. I wasn't really doing any speak videos. Yeah. I was just like putting text overlays on it. And it helped me a lot to actually find out how I can directly speak to people. I started enjoying that, actually. I was always really scared of doing that. And so actually giving me the confidence to do it.
And I know one of the questions you have to ask me is regarding AI. The most important thing people need to understand when it comes to you and your content is like, yeah, you can make B-roll clips of you doing crazy kicks and stuff like that, and they might get loads of views. But then you have to have that, but plus other videos of you actually talking so people can feel your energy, feel your tonality, like actually feel you for as a person. Because like, what was your question specifically in regards to AI?
Yeah, so AI is getting pretty big actually nowadays, and everybody is like asking ChatGPT question. Like, we have so many different AIs nowadays. Do you think that's actually going to be a big risk for online coaches, because everybody can nowadays go to AI and ask too?
So we have lived in the last 15, pretty much the internet era. We've lived in a world where there is no lack of information, there's a lack of implementation. So what are people essentially paying for? Accountability and someone to help them execute and to actually like hold their hand through the process. And that's the same thing from a fitness side of things. Yes, someone can get a workout on ChatGPT. Yes, they can utilize that to maybe help them, but they will also want to work with people who have big brands, who they trust, who like Veronica's helped all these women change their lives, all these people change their lives. I want what she does. And that's where that will never change. And that's where the smart coaches will utilize this as a tool to allow them to scale faster and actually improve the quality of their service and what they do. Like, we're building a lot of AI tools at the moment to help people building their businesses, because we use AI like crazy right now. And it's making it easier and easier to win. But what I would say is a word of warning for anyone. In my opinion, we are in the golden era for about the next 3 to 5 years, where it's almost like when social media first came out. So you need to take advantage of all these tools and social media right now, because I'll put frames like this. Probably in 10, 15 years, we won't be using mobile phones.
Mm-hmm.
They won't exist. We'll probably have like headsets or glasses or something else weird. It's like technology is moving so fast and nothing stops technology. So you want to take advantage of all these platforms as much as you can, because they're constantly going to keep evolving. But also, what will people always want to build from? Like, buy from? Brands. Yeah. People they know, people they like, people they trust, people who've done the exact thing they want to do, they will continue to buy from. Regardless of AI, regardless of mobile phone goes away and we start wearing glasses or headsets or whatever crazy iRobot shit happens, like, that is going to be the game, which is why content, you getting results, you actually helping people, and you building your brand and authority over the next couple of years is the most important thing you could do.
So you wouldn't be scared of new technology. You would actually like try and find a way to use it the best way possible.
I'll give you an example for anyone listening to this. So I have a fitness coach who coaches me. He's phenomenal. I'd recommend checking him out, called Alex Kickel. I do a lot of my own training programming. So I've uploaded my last 3 to 5 years probably of training programs, blood work, genetic testing, current nutrition, supplement cycles, whatever, all into like a project in AI. And I basically build my own workouts out of that. And it's incredibly effective, but it's incredibly effective because I know what to ask it, and I know what a good workout looks like, and I know what responses I'm looking back. So if you're Steve, who works for Deutsche Bank and has no idea really about working out, not so useful. It's the same as like the analogy of if you gave me a basketball, it's pointless. Like, I can't play basketball. But you give it to Michael Jordan, he's a billionaire, right? Same kind of framework.
Of course, I love that. Well, you've been in the game for such a long time. Which tips would you give somebody that's my age, I'm 22, to actually evolve their business?
I would think about the most important thing is leverage. So like, me and Mike kind of spoke about this a bit this morning, of like why content like this is so good. Because I'm 35, so I'm 13 years older than you. So in 13 years' time, this will still be sitting on the internet and people will be finding out about your story today. In 13 years' time, because of this hour or however long this is you can spend here. So firstly, I try and think, okay, what are the leverage plays that I can do? Secondly is like, where do I maybe have skill deficiencies personally that I need to try and focus on, or what's the bottleneck right now? So like last year, for example, I spent a lot of time training in terms of how to get better at public speaking, how to get better to communicate, getting better at leadership, because essentially life is a game of skill acquisition. So like, as you develop, you'll need different levels of skill sets. And then the third thing I would just say is just being like relentless, just keep on going. Probably similar for your kickboxing. It's like, you're going to have weeks and months and years when it's really easy, and you're going to have times where it's really, really shit. And I even think I've I left my full-time job 25th February 2019, but I probably started my coaching business 2017, 2018, so like 7-8 years ago. And I would say there's been cycles. There's been years where it's been like amazing, I've crushed. There's been years where it's slightly more challenging. The years where it's been more challenging though, a lot has been because of personal issues. So I'd also say like one of the things you want to try and minimize is personal problems in your life, because if you minimize that, it's like playing the game on easy mode, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. You've been in this game pretty long. What is something you would make different now than back when you started out?
I would have hired the right people sooner and put more effort into training them rather than bum on seat, off you go, you figure it out. And I think this is where, for anyone listening to this who's a business owner, you should spend 50% of your time trying to train and improve your employees and the people who work for you. Because the first thing I said to you earlier on is like the most important thing you want is leverage. Whereas if you can teach someone to do something like 90% as good as for you, you need to let them run with it, because then they can do that part of the business. You then go to the next bit. And that's why so many people say stuck in their businesses, because they're stuck in coaching too many clients. They're stuck in editing all their videos or whatever the thing is. It's like ultimately your goal is to increase the value of what your time is worth and slowly bring people in to kind of replace you as you grow.
Are there specific traits from people you employ you would watch out on and tell like, oh my God, I'm not going to work with this person at all?
100%. First big red flag is one, if someone is slow at responding. So we politely turn over team members very quickly. Like we test people and trial people, in particular in a lead generation or a sales environment. If they come in and their communication is slow and poor at the beginning, we get rid of them straight away. So that's like number one. Number two, this is the most important thing. And it's basically how you can assess someone's intelligence level and their coachability. Let's say, for example, you were going to take a sales call and I was like, okay, Veronica, you're going to have a sales call with Mike. You need to ask his partner's name. You need to find out about his dog, and you need to do X, Y, Z. Let's just say his partner's name and dog. And then I listen to the sales call, and then you don't ask the partner and dog's name. You are then not trainable, because I've specifically asked you to do 1 to 2 things and they haven't been done. And that's ultimately where you can end up having people in your business who you can try and train until you're blue in the face, but nothing changes. Or like we had a new sales guy who started working with us, who's amazing. I started training him. I said to him, do this. First call, bang, did it. Or like one of our other sales guys, I built some amazing new scripts, which are insane. And he used them, worked straight away. And he's like, the whole reason this guy closed is because of the script. And I was like, yeah, it was, but it's also because you used it. So that's probably the big thing I look for, is like speed and urgency, and also how coachable are they and what's their level of intelligence to learn.
Mm-hmm. That sounds honestly way easier than it is in real life.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be scared of actually releasing people faster?
Get rid of, like, there's one of the best sayings is hire slow, fire fast. And we've really changed how we've done that the last few months, where we basically have someone who's nearly full-time job is just hiring and interviewing people. And essentially we will take our time to find someone who's good, because the reason for that is it takes time and effort and resources to train someone, no matter how good your systems are. But if that person comes in and we have any doubts in the first few days, first week, we get rid of them straight away, because it's just going to be a waste of time. No one starts badly and then improves and becomes a rock star straight away. You get people who come in who are like, whoa, this guy's good. I'll give you an example. So we have a lead generation set who joined our team, and we have a platform we've been using where we don't really book that many calls on it. We haven't really even bothered utilizing it, because it kind of doesn't really work, like limiting belief. And it wasn't the platform doesn't work, it's the people we've been putting on the platforms don't work. Put this guy in, he's booking like 2 sales calls a day, because he's driven and he wants to do well, and he actually is coachable, and he asks questions and he learns. So most of people's problems in their business are actually like people problems, but they're too nice to actually want to get rid of the person. But the reality is, by you being too nice to not get rid of the person, you're not just jeopardizing your business, but you're jeopardizing their future, because they probably don't really want to be there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm currently employing my first employee. I had a little bit of a struggle with the first one. A weird kind of story. Now the second one I'm getting in it's a weird story too, but at least she's now putting in the work. So I'm really happy there. We will see if it works out. She's the first weekend. So
Where is she from?
she's from America originally, but she moved to Costa Rica.
Okay.
So I don't know.
What's her job role?
She has been a VA in real life for such a long time. And now she's like 43.
Okay.
And she wants to kind of not be stuck doing face-to-face work. And now she wants to do it online. So I'm just like getting her in the online scene.
I would say this is an interesting thing I've thought about a lot recently in the last few months, and actually said it to our team, is that if people are hiring, if you're watching and listening to this and you're hiring people who are in sales or doing lead generation, it's quite a hard role and you have to be quite self-motivated. Now, what we essentially kind of look for, as bad as it sounds, is people who are in pain. They come from a difficult background. They come from Eastern Europe, South Africa. Maybe they've had a challenging upbringing in Ireland or somewhere. Like if someone's like has everything too easy, a lot of the time they're very complacent. And I can say that because I went to a private school transparently, and out of probably all my friends, none of them have really amounted to anything because they have no drive, they have no motivation. They have everything already. And I think that's something also to look for, is like, okay, where is this person from and how strong is their drive and motivation? Because a lot of managing teams and building a business is understanding human psychology, because we have to interact with customers and our team members. Essentially, how can we get the most out of them we want? And that comes down to understanding, okay, what motivates people? And people are motivated much more by moving away from pain than moving towards pleasure, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Totally makes sense. Yeah, so no, it's definitely interesting, especially if like you're starting to employ people way older than you are yourself. That's kind of the weird thing I still have to twist my head around. But yeah, it's a whole new scene to get into for sure.
One of the best pieces of advice I'd give you as well, if you haven't done this already, I'm sure we have told you to do this, but it's doing like an end of day report with them. The most important thing, particularly when someone comes at the beginning, is having like a quick 15-minute meeting, like on Zoom every day, or even just like phone call. And I can resonate with what you're saying about managing older people, because I remember when I was 23, so similar age to you, I was managing a branch of an estate agents in the UK. And I remember managing people who were like 55. I'm 23. I was half of their age. It's like, this dude could be my dad. I'm like, this is weird. Like, it wasn't weird, but it was kind of weird. And they kind of like, do you know what I mean? And it's funny in hindsight, but also, I would also say for anyone listening to this who has a job, that's actually the best thing about a job, is you're getting paid to learn. So like a lot of the skill sets I have now, I actually got paid to learn over that period of time.
Yeah. No, that's, you told me I'm in your coaching,
Yeah.
so I've heard all of those things before. I got a really beautiful, Hannah is her name. She's helping me a whole lot, so I'm really thankful there, because she's like, even if I don't write back sometimes, because I'm still like figuring it out on myself, she's on me and really like, hey, where can I help you? Is there anything I can help? And especially with like employing people, I had my Meta business back office hacked. Like, that is one thing I'm really grateful for, because I was like, I think 2 weeks trying to figure it out with Meta, how to get my back office back. And then Aiden came in and he was like doing it within an hour and told me afterwards, that was finally one that's a little bit more exhausting. And I was like sitting there, no clue what's going on. So your whole team is like really, really good. That's for sure.
And that's one of the things I say is like, it's basically like we have a team of Navy SEALs in business, in building fitness business that people work with. And the reason why that, for example, is easy for Aiden is there is no problem that you can ever come across that I haven't personally experienced multiple times. And like we said earlier about how like this is difficult, and it's difficult because constantly things will just go wrong. Like Instagram accounts get disabled. You have, I had a Stripe account, payment processor disabled off £250,000. I've had like bank accounts frozen with 100 grand in them for 6 months, like loads and loads of problems. And something I actually heard Andy Elliott say is like, if you want to have a big life, you're going to have big problems. So like, this is kind of like, what did you expect for anyone listening to this? Like, oh, I don't want to have all these difficult challenges. I was like, okay, well then have a normal life and work for someone else. Because if you want to be like Veronica and you want to be successful, you want to be like me and be successful, there's going to be challenges that come with that. But also, and you're probably finding this already, is that the challenges that used to be daunting, that used to stress you out, like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, people always just like see the perfect world, but of course, like, nobody's going to share their struggles, like their real struggles that are currently going on in their head on social media. For example, if I'm posting on social media, I would never ever go ahead and just like post that I'm currently just like working and like trying to train my VA, trying to train that person. Like, nobody shares that. It would be boring. You wouldn't watch that. So don't believe everything people post on social media, because like, especially the struggles, they're not going to be shown.
Here's something for people to think about. It's called mimetic goals. And mimetic goals is essentially where you try and copy other people's goals and not really your own goals. You just, because like, oh, Charlie wants to do this, then I must want to do this as well. And why I say that is because often the coaches who I see who live the most flamboyant life are the ones who actually have the worst businesses and are in a really bad financial position. They're traveling to Australia, Bali, Marbella, doing whatever, but like their business is terrible and they have no money. And it's actually the people who are like stealth mode, who are just really, really consistent. And I was actually thinking about one of our clients this morning. I'll shout out to him, Ollie Roder, who's in, I think he might do like 70, 80K this month, I think he said. And when he first started working with us, was doing like 14 grand a month. He is consistent, very consistent. He stays here. He doesn't travel around. He might go away in the summer for a bit, but he's not jetting around here, there, and everywhere and get distracted. He just does his thing and just like chips away, and you just build the blocks, if that makes sense.
I think that's another thing. Like, you see all those coaches traveling a lot, but be sure that everybody of them has their laptop with them, like is constantly on calling mode. I think the snapshots of you see people going to the beach, enjoying their life, going to Top Golf, like even if it's here in Dubai and you see all those people like living life, I think that's 1% of their whole life.
People will only show you the highlight reel, and that's just the reality of what social media is. It's also why I like long form content, because you can try and explain a bit more of like the reality of how this kind of works, because it is hard, but then it's still better than, like, if I look back from what I used to do before. I was thinking about this morning as I was going for a walk in the sun around Dubai Harbour with my top off. I was like, this isn't that bad. I used to have to drive 2 hours a day in the car commuting, and I'd work from 8 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. So I barely even had any time to work out. And I had to wear a suit tie. I had to do what I was told all day. And that for me is like almost like a prison of a life that most people have accepted as a reality. Whereas if people are willing to break out of that, be bold and do the hard work, they can have the life they want. It's going to come with work, but it's going to be a better kind of work.
And also you start to appreciate way more if you get to, for example, you can decide where you want to live and where you want to work and when you want to work. And initially you start to get so passionate about helping other people, about like really your business, that it is not really work. It's more like something you really like. I would say I'm a routine person. I love it by now. It's just like, if I don't get my workout in, if I don't check in with my clients, I'm missing out.
And that's where ultimately for the people who are most successful, they like routine. Everything is structured. They do generally the same thing at the same time every single day. And for most people, like, that must be really boring. Well, like, you work in a 9-to-5 job, dude. Like, you do not like turn up and do the same thing every day. And I think the reality for me is like my perfect day is like I wake up, I do a bit of work, I then work out, I maybe do a bit of work, and then I go out and have a nice meal somewhere or something like that. That's kind of like the ideal thing I like to do. And I think the more people try and overcomplicate their lifestyle, the worse the businesses tend to do, because the less you have to do, the more successful you are with the things you are actually doing, which is why I try and think about like, okay, what can I take away from my life so I can actually focus on the 1 to 2 things I really want to achieve. And if I was your age, I think you said 23, like the position you could put yourself in by the time you're 25, 26 is insane, because how that compounds over like 10, 15 years by the time you're old as me at 35.
Yeah. I'm moving to Dubai now. I'm just in the process of actually setting up my residential and everything here. What are a few things that you would kind of look out for?
The best things about Dubai, in my opinion, are the network of people, but firstly, with that, surround yourself with the right people, because a lot of people here who maybe want to try and utilize you for information, or because you've got a big social media following, or blah, blah, blah. Like, I've had that a fair bit. I'm very aware of that, but that's something I would be conscious of. Big positives, I'd say, is the speed of and efficiency of lifestyle. I think we spoke about this a bit the other day, that like how easy it is for you to get food delivered. You can get Ubers any way you want. Like you can get supplements delivered when you want. If you got sick, you can get the doctor come to you in an hour. I think those are the big things that are huge wins. But I'd say position yourself in an area in Dubai where you're happy and then you have the right mindset you want, because I think the environment you live in is very important, because it's like what you're exposed to and it has a huge effect on how you think and feel. And if you could imagine, if you were like Veronica 2.0 because you lived in a nicer apartment rather than like the cheapest apartment in Dubai in like the middle of nowhere, would you make more money as Veronica 2.0 because you're a little bit happier every day and like, oh, this is really cool and you're in a better mood? Yeah. So like the big thing I say is people like try and set yourself up with an environment of success and abundance, and like your mind starts to think like that.
Mm-hmm. So would you initially also cut your people around you, even if you're in Dubai and you have like a whole bunch of people that are pretty much successful? Would you still kind of cut it down to 5 people max?
I personally have done that, but not by intention, but just naturally kind of happened. And I think people who say they have a massive friendship group, well, I've got at least 30, 40 friends. Like I probably have like under 3 to 5 people who I'd probably message. Mike's one of them. So like there may be 2, 3 other people. So I think that's the reality in terms of what you really want is you don't want to have like 50 million different friendships. You want to have like a couple of ones that are really influential, but also people who are on your wavelength. And I give a good example of this. It's like, I can't probably think of the last time I spoke to someone who has a quote unquote normal job. And I remember I went to like a baby shower or something for my partner's friend maybe a year or so ago. And some guy was trying to like flex on me a bit about how he got promoted at his job. And I was like, dude, I really don't care. And it was just interesting to see how different people think, because I'm from such a different world of like online entrepreneurs and marketing and all this type of stuff, which is why what I try and do is surround myself with people who think on the same wavelength, where I can learn off and bounce off, because that's also where you get a force multiplier, because I could say something to you and like, oh, let's give me this idea for this. And that's where you're not working, you're just hanging around with your friends, but you're actually improving your life and your business just by who you're associated with.
Yeah. Are all of your 3 friends basically in the same niche as you are, or do you have like friends that maybe are really successful in a different niche?
They're all in online businesses, not necessarily fitness, but in some other like realms. I think that's one of the big things that has allowed me to grow very quickly as well, because the access of information and resources and knowledge I have is insane because of the people I know, because they'll message me, blah, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And ultimately, like, no matter with AI or ChatGPT or whatever, we live in a people game. Like, AI doesn't know about stuff if the people know about it first. It only knows about what goes on the internet. So if I know the stuff that before ChatGPT knows, then I win. Which is ultimately like one of the easiest ways to win in life is to know the right people, because the right person can introduce you to someone else who can then solve a problem.
That's so true. I think AI is a really, really good tool nowadays. So it's definitely, are you using it daily?
Probably hourly. Like here's a massive hack I'd say for everyone. I actually use AI for journaling a lot. So like every single day I'll give it to give me certain questions to answer. And where I find it useful is if I get stuck, I will also ask you like, what do you think the answer to 3, 4, and 5 should be? I'm like, that's a good idea. So I think that's where I almost see it as like a second brain is the way I think about it. Like this I'm wearing right now is an AI tool that records everything I'm saying, and I upload that. And that's where I have so much data that's basically built into the AI that I use, and also the AI that we're actually about to launch into 7-figure scaling systems for coaches. So we have something called Charlie AI coming out, where you can ask me in Slack any question you want, and it's got 25,000 hours of knowledge base you can ask questions against, and it responds like that. So it's like it speaks as me in real time, full answers, anything you want, like endlessly. And that's where that has my ability to then help people at scale, but even faster. And I think that's where an example in terms of how you can use these tools to really move your business forward, and how I can help other people move their businesses forward at more scale.
So you're pretty much like always dialed in, always like thinking of how to improve your whole business.
The best thing I would say for everyone is you have the business you have today and you have the business you have tomorrow. Now, most people don't think about the business they have tomorrow. Now, that's why that they stagnate and they go backwards and don't see the success they want. The reason that I've continued to progress is because I'm always thinking, okay, what's this going to look like in 3 to 5 years' time? Where is this going? Like I said to you earlier, like we're not going to have phones in 10 years' time. Probably no one said that to you probably before, right?
I mean, my family is really into those things.
Yeah.
I have heard that probably a trillion times before, but my dad is like really into getting to know new things. My dad is really upfront. He kind of reminds me a little bit of you. He does have a totally different business though. He's like into heating systems, installation. So for him, it's kind of new that I'm in this business and I'm doing like totally online, because it's like a whole different niche, but he's like really into what is going on with the world.
What does your dad think about what you've achieved?
To be honest, he was always standing behind my back and always like cheering for me. But it's like different because he doesn't fully understand what I'm doing. And a funny thing is, I just like a few weeks ago, I had this conversation before I went here to Dubai with him. And I was like, I never ever thought when I first started posting on social media, like in COVID, first year of COVID, that I would be an influencer or a content creator. And then my dad goes like, oh yes, I did know. And I was like, no way, we posted out of a joke. Like I thought this was a testimonial to be like a PT in person. And he was like, no, I did know that we are going to set you up for that. And it was so funny because like I couldn't see the vision back then and he was already cheering for me to set me up in that environment.
Would you say one of your biggest drivers to make your dad proud of you?
It was a huge part for a really, really long time because like I have 2 younger brothers and I knew one of them is going to take over his company. The other one could probably take over the electrician part or do like something smaller. So they were both set up, but I'm like really not into that. So like I told him if they're not going to take it over, I'm going to take it over, but I find a person that does the job for me. I don't have anything to do with that. So I always knew I wanted kind of to become successful. And I did want to show my parents that I was set up for that because my mom is from a really old village and she always like, I love her, but she was protective of me and told me, you're a woman. Why don't you just go and work? Like it's way less stressful for you. So I kind of also want to show her, of course, that it's not that stressful if you start loving what you do.
If you're passionate about what you do, work becomes play, and that's ultimately the goal.
Yes, you start realizing that not just work is a play, but your whole life. And every time something goes wrong, you start like, what is it this time? What is growing me here? Like you don't see it as a real life anymore. You kind of feel like you're in a computer game.
100%. One last question for you. What would you say is some advice for anyone who's seeking out help in terms of scaling their online business and would maybe potentially want to work with us?
I would say never be scared to ask somebody else that has done it before for help. Like wherever you go, try and not even just like for coaching, but like whatever you do in life, always ask questions, be open-minded and try to learn because everybody can learn you something. And if you really want to grow your business, like even coaches need coaches. And
I've got multiple coaches.
Exactly. Like you can't do it all by yourself. That's like even egoistic for yourself. You can read 1,000 books. You can read 1,000 of Google pages online. You can ask ChatGPT, but at the same time, like that is not going to give you backlash when something goes wrong. Like you're going to be fucked. And coaches need coaches. So sometimes, and even if it's just like you're doing amazing, keep going because you're on the right way is what you sometimes need. And I think this coaching didn't just like help me to set up a system in the background, but also gave me that backlash, like this is the right way. No, you have to do something different. So always be open to learn and to get advice.
Great thing to finish on. Where's the best place people would find out more about you, Veronica?
Instagram is my main page, so Veronica Kreidl. If you also want to have like YouTube, I have some follow along workouts on there. Same name, Veronica Kreidl everywhere.
Make sure you go and check them out. She's pretty phenomenal in terms of what you do, and obviously with your athletic background, so there's a lot of different content. And if you're an online trainer and you're looking to scale your business, if you hit the link below this video, you can book in a free business call. We'll show you exactly where the bottlenecks are in your business, exactly how we can help you so you can become another success story like Veronica. If you took value from this, please share it to your stories. Also tag Veronica. I will share anyone who reposts this. And we'll see you next episode very soon.